my YouTube channel. This is Homestyle Homeschool. My name is Jennifer, and I created this channel to share about my experience and my journey as a millennial homeschooling mom. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you guys our curriculum choices for the 2023-2024 school year. It definitely took me some time. I mentioned before in a previous video that in the past, I have created all of our curriculum essentially by myself, putting together different lesson plans, picking and choosing from different companies and things like Teachers Pay Teachers, OutSchool classes, workbooks, all of those good things. And I decided that this year, in order to free up some time and for me to really focus on some of the other areas in our homeschool that I feel are more important, that I would go ahead and start looking into some full curriculums. And so some of our choices didn't necessarily go with one curriculum that had all subjects, but I did go with different curriculums for each of the subjects. Except for science, I'll go ahead and explain a little bit more about that when I get into science, but let's go ahead and get into the curriculum choices for this school year. All right, so to get started, we're going to go ahead and look at language arts for my youngest. She is entering into the first grade. And so for her, I decided to go with the Logic of English Foundations A curriculum. This one I think is going to be so good for developing some really good reading foundations. And what I did realize is when you're homeschooling different kids, they all definitely learn at different paces. I realized that when I homeschooled my son and he learned to read, it was definitely a different process. I tried some of those same techniques and things like that this year with my daughter, and they just did not land on her the same way that they did my son. So right here I have this teacher's manual. And this has, this is just really good to me. I love the way that everything is laid out. There's scripts, there's like, you can literally just read it right off the page, and step-by-step instructions really makes it easy for you as the parent to also transition to being the instructor without having to do too much prep. Then there's the workbook. We have the manuscript workbook, but if you are working with a student who is working in cursive, you can also purchase this in cursive. And I really like that it is really streamlined, one full year of curriculum, everything that they'll need, no extra pages, no like extensive directions or anything. All of that stuff is in this manual. So this just makes it a lot more friendly for little kids. Now, in addition to that, we did purchase the online supplement, and this takes the lessons from the book to an online platform. So she'll be able to sign in on her platform and take those same lessons that I am teaching her and learn them again on the online platform. So there is an instructional video, there are different games and activities and things that they can complete online, and it will just really help to reinforce the lesson that was taught during that instructional time. Now with this, we also purchased the phonogram and spelling rule quick reference. I just think that this is going to be good for us to be able to refer to, not only for her, but also my older kids, and helping with strengthening their spelling and their reading. So we'll have this to use throughout the year. And then the other thing we purchased with this curriculum was this Doodling Dragons ABC Book of Sounds. We had a look through it. It looks really fun. I love the way that it really just emphasizes the way that the letters in the English language can change up, right? And they can really like be tricky. And so when you are teaching little ones how to read, some of those rules and things just don't make sense, or they contradict something that we've previously taught them. And so I really like the way that this book is laid out. It's really fun. And with that online supplement, there are also some songs that we'll be able to play and learn that will help her to just really get those different ideas and concepts to help stick. The last thing that I purchased along with this curriculum are these phonogram game tiles, I believe they're called. They came together in like a little small booklet, so I've already taken them all out. I went ahead and laminated them and then cut them up. That way we can use them you know, for a very long time. Just want them to last as long as possible. There are different vowel sounds, consonants, blends, and different things like that. So these will be used for like spelling and stuff like that. And the last thing that I did add to her language arts is this Handwriting Without Tears printing book. Now, the foundations curriculum does have a handwriting component, but for me, when I looked at it, it is very much starting kind of from the basics of teaching kids how to write their letters. And my daughter already knows how to write her letters, and I think she has really good penmanship, honestly. I just want her to continue to exercise that skill. So I wanted to get something that would be basically where she can do 1, maybe 2 pages, 5-10 minutes of extra handwriting exercises a day. And so we got this one. I used this in the past with Zachary, and it was pretty good. Again, straightforward, easy, and so we're going with this one. All right, so getting into our math curriculum for my first grader, we are doing math with confidence. I looked through a couple different math curriculums. I wanted something that was complete, again, something that was colorful, something that also had some hands-on. And what I found with this one is it's not either mastery or spiral, which a lot of curriculums can be kind of focused on one or the other. This one kind of entails a little bit of both. So I thought this would be a really good one to start with. Now, when I'm looking at the math skills that I already feel my ingoing first grader has, I think that this is going to be really, really good for her. I like that it does include some hands-on activities to really bring home the math concepts. There's also a list of math books that you can get that go along as well to, again, enhance those concepts. And so that is the one we're going to be using. I have here the instructor's guide, which is huge. You can see that compared to the one for your student, but this has everything in it, similar to the Logic of English like I just showed you guys. It leaves all of the extra words and directions and everything out of this and puts it all here, gives you the script, gives you exactly what to say, the materials you'll need, you know, ways to modify the assignment if you need to. And so I think this one's really going to be good for us. Now, in addition to that, there is a math kit that you would put together on your own. So you would have to purchase some of those materials separate. These can be really, really cheap. But also, if you don't want to purchase them, they do have pages in the back that you can print off and cut out and use those manipulatives. It's totally up to you. I did purchase a couple of the things. One of those was some money. She needs this for her curriculum, so does Zachary. And so I went ahead and purchased this. I showed this in a previous video. I got this from the party section at Target. It was only $3. It has 1s, 5s, 10s, 20s, 50s, and 100s. And then it also has all of the coins. So it has enough for them to use throughout the school year. Another thing that she needed for her math kit were 2 decks of playing cards and 2 dice. So I have that in this one. She also needed a clock. I showed this in a previous video as well. So I got this just little clock we'll be able to use. Another thing that she needed was wooden shapes. So if you guys remember these like classic wooden shapes with the different colors. I'm not completely sure which assignments these are going to be needed for, but again, this is just in the math kit, which they encourage you to put together before you get started so that you have everything readily available when the time comes. The next thing is flashcards. I believe she needs 200 of them, and they're 4 different categories. So I went ahead and divvied her flashcards up. They're 4 different colors, and then again there's 4 different categories, so I went ahead and put them in 4 different index card holders. And then the last thing she needed was a ruler, which is in her drawer. And then she needed 100 and something small markers, which I got these from the dollar store, which are bars. I forget what they're called. But anyway, I have a 100s bar, 10 bars, 101 bars, and she can use these as her counters. If I need to get something later on, I'll just deal with that then. Pretty much everything for the math kit and everything that goes along with this curriculum for Math with Confidence. So now I'm going to jump into language arts for Zachary. The first thing that he's using is Fix-It Grammar. Heard really great things about this. I looked into it, dove really deep, and decided that this was going to be a go. I really like the way that it's laid out. There's a student manual and a teacher's manual, but what I like about this is that everything, well, not everything, but a lot of the stuff in the teacher manual is in the student manual as far as instruction goes. So once you teach the lesson, the student can go back into essentially that lesson with all of the examples, directions, essentially everything, and kind of reteach themselves if they need to. Now, I really like this for my son because he can be very much driven to teach himself things. Sometimes he doesn't like to wait to hear instruction. He will go through the directions, look at the examples, see how it's solved, worked out, whatever it is, and then he likes to go ahead and proceed with completing his work. And so I like that that is there for him. I like that it encompasses a lot of different parts of grammar, and then it also is encouraging them to do the handwriting work. So I've mentioned before that my son needs to continue to work on his handwriting, so this is a way that we get all of that going kind of in one. And this is also created for 4 days, so this is something that we're definitely going to be doing on a daily basis, and I really think that, you know, he's going to do well with it. And then in addition to that, we are doing Brave Writer. We are using their literature studies, which they call DARTS. I heard really good things about this. I really wanted us to take a deeper dive into like reading comprehension, you know, writing structure and things like that for him. And so I looked into this and I really, really liked it. So I have everything printed out here. This comes in digital form. It's going to be what we'll use for this literature study. Now, one of the other things that really caught my attention when I was looking into these literature studies is that they had a literature study for one of my son's favorite books, which is Dragons in a Bag. He has already read this book, I think probably twice. So since this is a book that my son already enjoys and has already read in its entirety, I thought it would really be good for us to go back into this book and really look at it on a deeper level. And I really think that that is what this literature study is going to help us to do. It just gives him an opportunity to see it from a different perspective. We also have Charlotte's Web. I chose Charlotte's Web because it's something that we already have on our shelf. He has not necessarily read it, but he is familiar with it. He's like seen the movie and seen the book on our shelf. And it's a book and a story that I'm kind of familiar with. So I think it'll be really cool for me to be able to go ahead and teach it from a different perspective too. So I'm really excited for that experience for the both of us. And I'll definitely be letting you guys know how this literature study goes. Now, moving on to math for Zach, like I was just explaining before, Zachary can definitely be very much self-taught in a lot of things. And so I really wanted a curriculum that will continue to allow him to do that. I also wanted something that was just going to strengthen the skills that he already has. He learns concepts really, really fast, but I wanted something that was going to make sure that he went back and reviewed things that as he learned them so that he can strengthen those skills as he goes along. And so with looking for a curriculum that would hopefully give us that, I went ahead and decided on the Saxon Math. I went ahead with the 5-4. We did do the assessment and he did assess into the 5-4. From my understanding and speaking with Saxon representative, this one is made for a student who may be potentially entering into the 5th grade, but has not necessarily developed really, really strong understanding of the 4th grade concepts, but is able to grasp some of the 5th grade concepts. And so I think my son fits right in the middle of there. This is the tests and worksheets book. This one he'll be using for the tests. As far as the worksheets, he's going to be using this 3-subject notebook. There's 3 different parts in here that he's completing for each of his lessons, and so he'll put each of those parts into one of these sections here. And as we get more into the groove of using this and I'm checking in with you guys, I'll be giving you guys a closer look into exactly how we're using them, you know, once we have some examples. And then with that is also this text. This is like the actual textbook. So this has all of the lessons, has, you know, all of your examples, all of the problems worked through. And then when it gets to what assignments he's doing, it has all of those problems and everything in here. This homeschool set also comes with a solutions manual, which I just have put away because that's basically for me. And I really like that it lays out all of the answers and all of the problem, exactly how you work through all of the steps and everything. And like I mentioned before, in the past, if I, you know, found something for math online or a worksheet or an activity I really like to do, I would have to do it and like solve it all and make sure I had all of that together myself. So I love that this is laid out. It's right there. I can go straight to the problem. I also like that a lot of the questions, especially like in the tests, each of the questions are numbered and they also tell you which lesson that question kind of comes from. So if you do need to go back and reteach or just review that, the student themselves can look at that and know where to go back to, or you as the instructor. So in addition to that, we did also purchase the supplement with Nicole, the math lady. And what that is going to be used for is we will be able to take all of these lessons and he'll be able to go online into his online portal and also see instructional videos that are also teaching these lessons. In addition to that, he will be able to complete some of his math problems online. He'll be able to get those graded and they'll be sent right back to me. So like I mentioned before, it really just frees up time that I would usually have to do little meticulous things like look at the answers, see how, you know, what they've got graded and all that stuff. Now I can just look at it and go right into focusing on strengthening that area, reteaching that concept or that idea, or, you know, just seeing what questions he might have so I can help him have a better understanding. So that's pretty much it for math. Let's jump into science. All right, now for science, I don't have anything super duper exciting. My initial plan was to extend the lessons from my kids' enrichment center because they do a lot of science there. It is STEAM based, which is science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So they do a lot when it comes to science there already. And so I'm not really concerned with them getting like a specific science curriculum per se. I just want them to continue to have really rich hands-on science experience. And so for them, I purchased these science notebooks. These are by School Nest. I got pink for Tori, her favorite color, orange for Zach, that's his. And these have really cool space in here for you to do drawing, to do writing, to just share about your science and what you're doing. So there are essentially 3 different things that I'm gonna be doing with their science, and I'm gonna be kind of seeing how this goes until I get it into a good flow, but I'll definitely make sure that I update you guys on exactly what our science curriculum will be for the year. So the first thing is the public charter school that my kids are enrolled with offers virtual classes for the students who are enrolled in their homeschool program. And there's a variety of classes that they offer throughout the week. Now, Friday is one of the days that we primarily school at home, and they also offer a science class on Fridays. So when that starts, we are going to be going into the class and just having a look, see what it is exactly that they're offering. I'm hoping that they give us an opportunity to extend that lesson at home or even provide us with materials and things so that the kids can be hands-on and engaged in that as well. Honestly, I don't know what these classes look like, but I am going to be trying them out and to see what that looks like. And if it works out, then they'll be using the science notebooks to essentially record everything that they did throughout that science lesson. So what was the name of the lesson or experiment? What did you learn? Draw about it, share what you made, different things like that. The second thing is my kids do go to an enrichment center and they share with us the different things that they're doing. And last year I was able to take their science and I took the parts that they didn't do there at the center and we did them at home. And so I wanted to continue doing that, but what I did learn is that they're using a different science platform. In the past, they used Generation Genius, which I'm very familiar with because I've used it in my homeschool. And so I knew how to kind of maneuver and like enhance those. Right now, they're going to be using some different ones, so I'll have to see how I can utilize that, if I'll be able to, you know, take that from there to home, or if it's just not gonna work out. That'll be completely fine. My third idea was to take our Ivy kits and just continue to use those and enhance the learning there. There's always a component there that has something to do with science, and so there's always a way that we can continue to kind of build upon that. And then there's so many other things that we can do with science. We definitely have science experiments, materials, books, and things like that that we can look in and find experiments all the time. And so I'm not really stressing myself with science that much. I just know that it's probably going to be a couple weeks before I really get into a good rhythm and figure out exactly what that's going to be, but I will let you guys know. All right, now for history, I have talked about woke homeschooling before. I absolutely love their curriculum and everything that they have to offer. We have used them in our homeschool for the past 3 or 4 years, and I am happy to be continuing to use them for our history. It is a conscious approach and also a beginner's approach. This one is going to be something that Tori and Zach will be completing together. I have here printed the first, I believe I've printed out the first 1 or 2 units of this one, and then this is the workbook, which I'll just make copies of pages as we go along and work in them. They have a long list of suggested picture books that go along with that. And then they do have a portion of this that is specifically for the parents called Homeschool Yourself. And so I have 2 books for that. One is an Indigenous Peoples History of the United States for young people, and then stamped Racism, Anti-Racism, and You. So I have these 2 books, and these are the ones basically that I'm going to be reading to give me a little bit more in-depth understanding to what it is that my kids are learning, and it's definitely going to help me on how to teach them. I'm sure it's going to give me a lot of knowledge that I don't necessarily have right now, but it's going to really play a vital role in the way that I teach this information to my kids, and I'm really looking forward to where we get out of this. Now, in addition to that, we are in California, and with a 4th grader, typically the 4th grade standards in California, history is California history. Although I'm not taking a super deep dive into California history, we aren't doing like a year-long curriculum when it comes to California, there were definitely some things that I did want us to learn about. I looked at the standards, and we are going to make sure that we touch most of them, just because we are from California. There's some things that I want to know a little bit more about, some things that I think would be important, and just really cool facts for our kids to know about where it is that they live. In addition to that, as a 4th grader here in California, he will receive a free pass to all California state parks. And so I really do want to plan some type of trip to a state park sometime this year. And I'm also going to be looking for some fun field trip ideas so we can do some of that fun California, like the gold mining things and stuff like that. And then while I was in the library, I happened to come across the book sale that they were having, and I picked up these 2 books for 25 cents. This one is Exploration of California, and then this one is California Spanish Missions. I'm sure we'll find some way to use them to learn a little bit more about California. And then there's another book that I used for my son in the past. We started homeschooling his 4th grade year, so we did some California history. And so there is a really fun book that I do want to get that has some really cool hands-on activities in it. And so I think I am gonna look and see where I can get that one from. Probably the library, won't buy it, just so we can have some more California history stuff to do. So last but not least, I decided that I really wanted to add SEL into our homeschool curriculum. Now, this isn't something that I haven't done in the past, because in the past we have always done like journaling. And so it really gives me an opportunity to see areas where I can improve. And I think that this is important to do as a parent, but also coming from the lens of providing education behind these things. I think it's very important that we not only try to model certain behaviors, but we're also able to explain certain behaviors and things so our kids can understand like why they may be making some of their choices, why they may feel some of the ways that they feel. And then we give them like good tools. And this is something that I don't feel like I've done over the last year, especially in our homeschool. We've been very busy, and so I wanted to make sure that I slowed down a little bit and focused on a few key areas. So I have resources here that we'll be using throughout this school year. I have not completely decided 100% how we are utilizing them, but just having them here as something that we can reference, something that we can read, something that we can go back to, and something that I can teach them from, I think is going to just make a world of difference. So one of the first things is this My Mixed Emotions book by DK. I've talked about DK before. I'm obsessed with their books. The illustrations, the explanations, everything. It makes reading a book like this very interesting. It's so colorful, it's bright, and I really think that it's a really good reference book. So one thing that I did notice here in the table of contents is the way that they have all of these emotions broken down. So you have happy, angry, fear, sad, and the wonder of you. And then each of them have quite a few chapters within each one that can probably be broken down into some different weeks, right? So you could have a unit for each one, try to divvy that up on a calendar. Just an idea. Again, I'm not completely sure how I'm going to incorporate it, but even if it's just something that we're able to reference when we're talking about our emotions and how to deal with them, I think it's going to be good. The other one is let's talk about body boundaries, consent, and respect. I don't even think I need to explain why this would be important. It's not even just about the fact that they're just getting older or the fact that they're out of the house and they're around other people and other kids and, you know, different things like that. Even just within the home, you know, I notice some things about my kids when it comes to boundaries, and maybe it's just like hugging each other or playing with each other or tickling somebody because they tickled you earlier and now you're getting them back because they're not looking. While all of those things can be very much so harmless, there is a part of just understanding like boundaries, understanding your body, your space, understanding giving people consent, understanding getting people's consent. And so I really wanted to make sure that we are intentionally teaching and learning about that throughout the school year, getting that conversation going. And this isn't something that, you know, is just for this school year, but again, this is just a way to help me be more intentional about it and then taking it from there. The last thing that I have is this Little Heroes journal. We've always had like gratitude journals. We've done the big life journal, different things like that. But I think that this is a skill that I should be teaching my kids. And so I want them to develop that. So I got one just for Zachary. We'll see about Tori as she develops her writing and her spelling skills, but she does have a gratitude journal. And so that is also something that we're going to be making sure that we touch on this school year. Now, a couple of honorable mentions. Zachary did tell me that he really wants to learn some Spanish, so I really have to find a way to get that into our curriculum. We do have access to, I believe, IXL Spanish, and then I did read somewhere that they had like Duolingo free for educators. I'm not completely sure, but I'm going to look into it some more. I'll update you guys, but he really wants to get into that, so I'm going to be finding some ways to just kind of incorporate that. I know it's not something that I'm going to be able to like really teach him, just because I don't want our schedule to get like too crazy. And if it's something that midway through I find that we have a little pocket of time that I can do a little bit more direct instruction with him, I'll definitely do that. But I definitely want to get him introduced to that. And I know I mentioned it before, we were supposed to do some of that over the summer, but we just didn't get to it. Then the other thing is the passion project, helping with the restoration of the Mustang. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's our curriculum for the school year. Zach and Tori have math pretty much separate. Their English and language arts pretty much separate. Math and history pretty much combined. And then we have our social emotional learning. And then we have those honorable mentions, or we'll try to find some way to make them electives or something like that. So I will make sure that I link all of the curriculum and all that in the description box below. If you've used any of this stuff, please comment below and tell me a little bit more about your experience with it. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Are you looking for some recommendations? Did my video help, you know, solidify a choice that you've been waiting to make for something, for one of these? Definitely do hit that subscribe button. If you've been here and you are watching another video, thank you so much for continuing to support. That's pretty much it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.